I'm Professor Indra Abeysekera. Here we are going to look at a hedging illustration, specifically a futures contract, and in that, a market value hedge. When it comes to hedge contracts, there are two types of transactions taking place. One is in relation to the hedge item, the other one is the hedge instrument or the derivative. The hedge item can vary in value from the time that it's been conceived or recorded to the time it's been settled. The hedge item could be a receivable or a payable. When it is recorded and to the time it's been settled, the value of that item can change. For example, if this item is denominated in foreign currency, that amount will change because of the fluctuation in foreign currency. Whenever we want to restate the recording of that amount, we use the spot rate and we restate that amount until such time that the hedge item is settled at the spot rate. The hedging instrument is a derivative or a contract that's been entered into. In this instance, it's a futures contract. And when the contract is entered into, the firm will enter into a sell position or a buy position. At the time of entering into the contract, the value of the contract is zero because it is the beginning of that contract. There may be an initial deposit that's been paid. That's by the way. But in terms of the contract value, it is zero because it just entered it. But this contract value will change due to the futures contract rate now and at the settlement. So when the contract is entered into at a sell or buy position, the value of that settlement has been agreed upon at that time, at the time of entering into the contract at a future date. Although that value is fixed, the futures contract value keeps changing. So we keep comparing the futures contract value at a given time with the settlement value. A unique aspect of a futures contract is that you enter into a contract saying you sell. For example, you sell shares, you want to sell shares, but you don't have shares to sell. So in a futures contract, at the settlement, because you don't have shares to sell, you close out the contract by buying shares. When you buy shares at the settlement and you agreed at a certain value to sell it through the contract, when you buy it, there could be a gain or a loss. Similarly, if the futures contract is to buy, is the pre-arrangement is to buy shares, when the contract has been settled, futures contract is closing out the buying position, and closing out the buying position means selling, because you didn't have anything to buy to start with in a futures contract, so you sell it to close it out. So the gain or the loss of reversing that position becomes the realization. But that is done with the purpose of mitigating the gain or the loss in the hedge item. So if we are expecting the currency fluctuation to increase or to increase in our favor, we take, that is in relation to the hedge item, then we take a position which is opposite to that. Let's say today is 1st of Jan. Share price is $3.25. And ABC wants to buy 10,000 Tesla shares at $3 on 31st March in 3 months' time, and takes a buy position of futures contract assuming a downward trend. So this means in the futures contract, in the futures market, that there's another party who wants to buy Tesla shares at $3. So ABC was locked in to buying Tesla shares at $3, but it doesn't really have shares. So it's closing out the contract by selling shares, which is $3.25. So it buys shares because it now can buy shares at $3. It will now sell the shares at $3.25 to close out the contract. Because the purpose of the futures contract is not to keep the shares, but to mitigate the risk, to manage the risk or the variation or the fluctuation in the hedge item. But we are not focusing on the hedge item, we are focusing on the hedge instrument or the derivative here. So ABC makes a gain by selling it at $3.25 and buying at $3. But if we consider the other party on the other side, the other party is going to buy at $3.25, assuming that other party or simultaneously entered into a sell position on 1st of January at $3. So it's going to sell at $3, but it's a pre-arranged amount, a pre-arranged price. But it's going to buy now, to close out that contract, it's going to buy at $3.25. By buying at a higher price, it's making a loss for the 10,000 Tesla shares. So this is in relation to the hedge instrument. So now let's look at a hedge item and hedge instrument simultaneously. So ABC company has a diversified share portfolio, and speculate that the share price will increase. So on 1st of January, it takes a sell position. That means it's now pre-agreed to sell ordinary shares. And it's now taking this position based on the share price index, which was 6,000, and each index is valued at $30. So when buying the futures, ABC company took 20 future units, and each unit is $30 to close out this contract on 1st of March. So the futures contract generally requires a small deposit, unlike forward contracts. So it made a $50,000 cash deposit to the futures exchange. The market value of the share portfolio was $2 million. 1st of March, the share price index. So the share price index is to which the futures or the derivative is linked is now 6,100. It has become 6,100 from 6,000. Market value of the share portfolio is 2.2 million, which was 2 million, previously 2 million. So let's look at the journal entries. Before we get to the journal entries, we need to acknowledge there are two sets of contracts here. The share portfolio is the hedge item. Futures contract is the hedge instrument. The share portfolio increased in value from 2 million to 2.2 million. The futures contract we logged in to sell at 6,000 share price index, and when we are selling on 1st of March, that the locked in sell contract, we need to buy the futures at 6,100, not 6,000 but 6,100 at a higher price. So the futures contracts are closed. So let's look at the hedge instrument and the hedge item. 1st of January, logged into a sell position, 20 units at $30, share price index is 6,000, going to sell it at 3.6 million. But on 1st of March, when we sell it, we got to buy it to close the contract, 20 units at $30. Share price index is 6,100, 3.66 million is the value. So the loss on the futures contract is 60,000 because we close it out by buying at a higher price. On the hedge item, at the start, the share portfolio value was 2 million. At the end, the value is 2.2 million, and the gain on the hedge item is 200,000. Taking them together, the net gain or the loss is, in this instance, is a net gain is 140,000. So let's get to the journal entries. There's futures contract, the derivative, and the share portfolio. on the share portfolio or the hedge item. The share portfolio investment is already recorded at market value. So there's no change in value occurred in relation to the market forces that needs to be recorded here. But on 1st of March, the share portfolio has gained in value, and now it has been recorded with an increase in the investment of the share portfolio of 200%. For the hedge item futures contract, on 1st of January, there was an initial deposit that was made for $50,000 in cash. Futures contract was just entered into, there's no change in value. On 1st of March, there's a loss on the futures contract, which is tagged to the share price index of 60,000. On this settlement, the deposit money is now being used to make up the loss, and additional cash of $10,000 is being paid out by the company to settle the futures contract.